With me is Estonia's Foreign Secretary. So, welcome to Vion. It's great to have you here in Delhi. And my first question to you is about the India Estonia relationship. We saw the leadership meeting happening in Paris just a few weeks ago, where the Prime Minister met with the Estonian leadership. So, how do you see this relationship going forward?
I see this as only the beginning. Great potential in our relationship. There's a significant size discrepancy, obviously. We're about 1,000 times smaller than India is population wise, but there are some areas where size doesn't matter. India is making a name for itself in the high technology sector, and Estonia already has a name that we made for ourselves in this sector. So I believe that in high tech, in education, in biotech, a lot more can be achieved than what we've already done. So I'm looking forward to expanding those ties in business to business relations, but also in government to government relations, where we need to talk to each other more often than we have.
Uh, Let me talk about the situation in Europe. There is a war going on in Ukraine. First thing on the India aspect, how do you see India's role in this war? The Indian Prime Minister have had conversation both in Moscow and in Kiev. So how do you see that as?
India is a major global power, a potential country, or it's very likely that this 21st century could indeed be India's century. So a huge player, a country whose voice matters. So we're not asking for India to defend Ukraine's interests or for India to defend European interests. We've got this. We are asking for India to use its powerful voice in defending what we believe to be India's interests, interests that are globally relevant. If we allow territorial integrity and sovereignty to become nothing but empty phrases in outdated treaties, then we will be opening Pandora's boxes, the negative effects of which will be felt around the world. So we believe that India can be a strong voice on the side of international law, on the side of UN Charter, on the side of territorial integrity and sovereignty. And that's the message that we hope India can deliver forcefully, not just in Kiev and Moscow, but around the world.
Uh, we have seen previous Indian initiatives. In fact, there have been conversation in Europe about how the Indian Prime Minister played an important role in bringing the nuclear option away from the table, making sure that the nuclear option is not used. What do you have to say on the previous Indian efforts?
Look, there's only one nuclear power engaged in this war, and that's Russia. Anything that can be done to convince Russia to not use its weapons on Ukraine is helpful. Any message that puts pressure on the aggressor to stop aggression is helpful. So as I said earlier, we're hopeful that India can use its powerful voice around the world and also with its bilateral relationship with Russia to convince Russia that their efforts to turn back time to an era where the so-called great powers of the world divided up continents between them, that these efforts are not going to succeed, that time is not on the side of the aggressor, and that the sooner Russia ends this war, the better off the world will be.
Uh, the situation in Ukraine, there have been conversations on a ceasefire. We have seen Moscow, Washington conversations, Washington, Kiev conversation, President Zelensky in White House. What is Estonia's view on the ceasefire in Ukraine about any peace coming in that country?
Well, it's clear that Ukraine wants peace. Ukraine wanted peace 3 years ago before Russia unleashed this large-scale aggression. If Ukraine were to stop fighting today, then there would be no Ukraine. If Russia were to stop fighting, there would be no wars. So we are obviously hopeful that recent efforts, also led by the United States, will bring about a change in Moscow's policies. We will believe them when we see them, though. Ukraine has made perfectly clear they're willing to sign up for a ceasefire immediately with no preconditions. We are focused on achieving a peace that would be lasting and just. What do we mean by just? I mean, basic things, basic principles of international law, territorial integrity and sovereignty to be honored and respected for Ukraine, but also for the sake of global stability. Whether or not Russia is willing to accept it, we will see. My suspicion, my personal suspicion, is that Russia is not yet ready for peace. Putin will likely say yes, but, with emphasis being on but.
My last question to you is, you are a major power in terms of cybersecurity. In fact, you are one of the countries who faced the cybersecurity challenge way back in 2008. Where can Estonia and India cooperate in terms of cybersecurity? I believe there was some Indian participation at a certain level when it comes to exercises in Estonia, the cybersecurity exercises, in fact, the NATO cybersecurity exercises as well. Can you perhaps talk about whether there was an Indian participation on those cybersecurity exercises by NATO in Estonia?
India is certainly welcome to observe and participate in the exercises that we conduct. Huge educational opportunities, technology development opportunities, so a lot for us to build on. The promise is huge, but we need to work hard to reap the benefits of this promise. So cybersecurity, probably one of the key areas where we can cooperate more.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It was lovely speaking to you and get a perspective, the Estonian perspective on the war in Ukraine and the India-Estonia relationship. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With video journalist Ajit Siddhansibal for WION in New Delhi.